It's up! Drop it. Power panel, Jake Huger, John Iderl. I'm a Viglet, everybody. The Vig is back. Okay. TYT fantasy football champion Emma Vigland. This year. Yeah, no. Bit of a controversy.
I mean, yeah, it was that the game ended unceremoniously, so we couldn't really figure out the real winner. But in the end, I was still the winner. I was the #1 seed. I had the most points at the end of the year, so I count. I'm the winner, Cenk, as you said.
No, a belt's a belt, and of course,
I need that belt.
Fair enough. Emma, of course, co-host of the Majority Report. Make sure you're checking that out as well. Another great progressive show. All right, guys, crazy show today. Republicans trying to ban criticism of DeSantis in Florida, potentially, at least getting people to register if they're going to criticize him. Seems like they have a real healthy understanding of the First Amendment. We've got a Republican bill in South Carolina to execute women who've had abortions. That is literal. And we have a neo-Nazi dildo saleswoman. Okay, so that's in the second
Wait, which one?
Which one? Well, I don't know.
Do you go to the same one?
No, I do not. I do not go to any of those. Okay, so that's all in today's insane program because the country has lost its mind.
Yeah.
All right, so without further ado, John Iderl.
I'm just gonna quickly say this because I don't get to be in the second hour, so I can't comment on the DeSantis blogger thing. But I love the idea of we're gonna protect DeSantis from those mean old bloggers, a month before Donald Trump is gonna make him a laughing stock across the entire country. Yeah. This is not gonna protect him in the way that you think it is. In any event, we have other news to get to in this first hour. Why don't we start off with this?
I'm stuck. No one's coming to save us.
With pleas for help.
I'm begging you, by the grace of God, please get our people out. Yes.
And stories of illness.
Their kids vomiting, nosebleeds, numbness in their mouth, numbness in their fingers.
Around 200 residents in East Palestine directly confronted a representative of Norfolk Southern for the first time last night.
So you have that town hall where residents of East Palestine are recounting all of the different medical side effects that their kids, their friends, their families are being affected by, more and more animals turning up dead. Turns out though, I guess they're all suffering from some sort of mass delusion because according to all of the authorities, there's nothing in the air, there's nothing in the ground, there's nothing in the water that should be causing any problems, which weirdly does not reassure the people of East Palestine who don't want to just be told that everything is okay when they know it isn't. They want their lives to be made whole, or at the very least, to have the funds necessary to get out of that place. And so we wanted to update you on some of what they are reporting, as well as, by the way, workers on the cleanup crews who've been sent into this area to clean it up, saying they're experiencing nausea and migraines, other medical symptoms as well. And it is not difficult to figure out why. After all, an incredible amount of dangerous chemicals, including vinyl chloride, was intentionally released and burned. They say to prevent a potentially deadly explosion. There are those who say that it was a quick solution to freeing up the rail line to allow trains to go by, and that it had much less to do with actually protecting the people of the area, but that is the official story. And so now many of the people there are saying they need to evacuate. They need the funds to do that, and so that's what they're asking for. Here is the reassurances that were provided to them by Darrell Wilson, Assistant Vice President of Government Relations at Norfolk Southern.
We are sorry. We're very sorry. We feel horrible about it. So, we have a plan.
You can see there are obviously many of the people in that video are worried about their own health, but also especially worried about the health of their children. A lot of people are worried that there could be long-term effects that might not be able to be seen immediately. And by the time they might be found, well, Norfolk Southern is going to be long gone. The EPA is going to be long gone. Buttigieg will have already run for and failed to get the Democratic nomination for president several times by then. So where are they going to be left at that point?
Yeah. So, hey, look, we've got a little bit of agreement here between the two political sides. So that's a silver lining in this story, although, silver lining in an otherwise toxic cloud. So when the right wingers in East Palestine say, I don't believe the government or the company, I hear you, brothers and sisters. I think you're probably right. So look, guys, even as a left winger, I don't believe the EPA anymore. And so we've lost faith in our institutions. There's a very, very good reason for that. Like the mainstream media will say that and say, tut, tut, can you believe the American people? Can you believe these terrible progressives saying they've lost faith in our institutions? Terrible right wingers saying they've lost faith in our institutions. But why did we lose faith? Because everyone in government is bribed by corporate interests. But that's literal. Yes, it's legalized bribery in the form of campaign contributions, millions of dollars. Everyone in mainstream media says, no, it doesn't affect them. Well, you're liars. We all know you're liars. That's an outrageous lie. No one believes you. So now the EPA comes into town and says, oh, don't worry, I tested it. Did you? Well, you read into it, it turns out they didn't test it. Norfolk Southern did. But they said, don't worry, the EPA oversaw it, kind of, a little bit, participated. Well, what the hell does that mean? They're like, well, we want Norfolk Southern to pay for it. So what? Why doesn't the EPA scientists, neutral scientists do it, and then bill Norfolk Southern and have them pay for it? Why are we having Norfolk Southern do that? There's no, look guys, corporations, that guy, that idiot, it's not an idiot to be fair. He's just a bad guy. The guy they sent out there to do propaganda, right? The guy in that obnoxious jacket that all yuppies wear, right?
He put on a fluffy vest. That means that he's in the field and it's serious.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what it means. He played dress up for the occasion. I'm gonna be with the regular people. I'm gonna wear this one without the sleeves. Ay. Anyways, that guy, we're very sorry. We really feel bad. No, you don't. First of all, you're part of a corporation. A corporation is not a human being. It cannot feel anything. Second of all, your remit is to maximize profit, and you know it. And you know that you made a calculation, not you personally, but the company did, saying, hey, if we do this in terms of safety, it'll cost this much. If we have this much personnel, we have these many inspections, it'll cost that much. Let's choose not to do them, full well knowing that the cost will be derailments. How do I know? Well, there was 818 derailments in 2022. It's not like they were unaware of them. In fact, they are built into their spreadsheets. This is the cost of doing business. We will poison a certain number of communities, and afterwards we'll pretend that we're sorry. I'm sure they had a good belly laugh over it. And then they send this guy out there and they send the government. But the government is bought. Mike DeWine is trying to get a new deal for railroad companies in Ohio, probably gets funding from them. All the Democrats get funding from them. Buttigieg is the most corporate guy you've ever seen in your entire life. Biden doesn't give a damn. I don't trust the EPA. So right wingers, when you're this one, you're right. You're right to be distrustful. But by God, understand who's causing what. So all of you, the propagandists in right-wing media have convinced you. It's the government, they just love power, and the government's the evil guys. Business is wonderful. Oh yeah, business is great. No, you idiots. The business guys are the ones buying off the politicians. The business guys are the ones making the money. They made billions. They say, oh, well, we can't move your kids and grandkids, and we can't clean up the site yet, and et cetera. No, you could do all of that because you have billions in profits. Billions. You're not close to that. Oh my God, if we do that, we're gonna run out of business and all these people are gonna lose their jobs. That's not true at all. That's not true at all. You're just choosing not to do it because you're a corporation and the government is choosing to let you get away with it. For God's sake, right wingers, your instincts here are generally right. Ask for regulations to protect you. Don't ask for Biden to come. Have Biden come down. I don't care. And yell at him. I know that's what you want to do. Yell at him at the top of your lungs. I don't care. What I care about is then force Biden and Buttigieg to push for safety regulations and to protect you like they're supposed to do, because they're supposed to be your representatives. But while you're doing that, you have to also push Republicans. Otherwise, Biden is gonna have the easiest get out of jail free card. He's gonna be like, oh, my great friends, Republican colleagues, oh, I love them so much. Well, there's nothing we could do. They blocked the regulations. Do you get it, right-wing voters? Big business has bought both parties, and corporate media and right-wing media, and they lie to you 24/7. Why? For the most obvious reason of all, the money. They lied to you because of the money. Please have the right targets. Emma.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Cenk. But I think it's important to draw a distinction in the fact that the Republican Party, they're bought and sold. And yes, I mean, Buttigieg, right? Like, you can even tell in his language that he's a lot more comfortable with the McKinsey consulting type language about efficiency than he is about actually being a regulator. That's why he goes, we're equal partners in this, us and the railroads. No, you're not. You're their boss. You should act like it. But Republicans want to dismantle the administrative state. Democrats in their current iteration want to kind of maintain it and at least keep the skeleton alive, but not really do much with it. Progressives, they want to strengthen the administrative state and the regulatory framework, which is the exact kind of thing that would help prevent this. And that's really the huge difference here. David Dayen in the American Prospect had a piece that came out where today, and we spoke to him about it on the Majority Report, about how the contractor that Norfolk Southern is hiring in this instance has to do air testing, has been at 9/11, Hurricane Katrina. It's a contractor that is widely used in some of these more natural disasters. And there has been criticism and lawsuits leveled against them before. You know why? Because they're being hired by the company that's responsible for the toxic spill here. So they're worried about their liability, Norfolk Southern. That's why they're doing all this window dressing, even doing a town hall. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it seem like a conflict of interest that the company contracted by the company that is the regional monopoly, by the way, that is responsible for this spill, is doing the reporting on air quality? They might have an incentive to downplay the amount of toxicity in the air because their employer, right? They are the client of Norfolk Southern, is paying them. Yeah. And so they're not going to be the ones to say, well, your liability is much greater than you have characterized it to us. No, they're going to downplay it. And so this is why on the left, we have to be clear-eyed and focusing on, this is not just like a moment to say, okay, well, we'll tweak some regulations, we'll return to the Obama era braking system or something like that. We have to listen to the workers who are getting sick on the job right now as they spoke there. They are saying, the union, nationalize these railroads. I mean, they are exerting such influence and power, and I know that seems far-fetched, and maybe it is, but we need to have a focus on what the problem is in this instance. And it's that these corporations have way too much power. They're the only show in town. And that's why they're able to get away with this kind of stuff. They should be properties of the state. They should be nationalized.
The group that you're talking about is the Center for Toxicology and Environmental Health, which is a private for-profit corporation. And you answer honestly, when you heard that it was the Center for Toxicology and Environmental Health, do you think there was any chance that that was anything other than it's like the CDC? It's part of the government. No, it's just its name is made up so that it sounds like an unbiased sort of research institute or something like that. No, they're there to make money and they're doing a good job of it. The only other thing I want to say about the politics of this is such a clear situation that happened right here. It almost perfectly encapsulates everything about our politics, that the corporations bought the government didn't regulate the corporations or actively took away the regulations. It's a combination of both that left us in the situation where this derailment could happen. A terrible environmental disaster has happened as a result of it, which is affecting the health of many people who don't have the resources to actually clean it up. And now we're just our wheels are spinning. And yet, despite it happening during a Democratic presidency, thus freeing up Republicans to pretend to be bothered by it, which they've done, and it happening in an area that is thought of as both poor and conservative, meaning that this is a bad thing that's affected conservatives. That has resulted in only like one half of what should have happened. What has resulted is that they're very angry. They've been told night after night on Fox News that this is a war on white people, that this is a race war against white conservatives. They have been taught to hate Pete Buttigieg or Michael Regan, head of the EPA, to believe that they're responsible for this, that they did something. So they've been activated to think that this is a bad thing. And so I would ask conservatives watching this, do you agree it's a terrible thing? And I agree, it should never happen again. So what are Republicans saying should be done to make it not happen again? Nothing. There is literally nothing that they're, get rid of Buttigieg, get rid of Regan. Yeah, but they didn't do it. It wouldn't replace it anyway. Another Democrat would replace them. How does that actually stop another derailment from happening? There's nothing. There's no advocacy for better brakes, more people, more safety inspections. Even the laughable extra precautions that Pete Buttigieg wants. It's not even a precaution. Higher maximum penalties when safety regulations are violated. Representative Troy Nehls said, no, we don't need to do that because the safety record of trains is so great. He said that in the wake of the derailment. So there should be nothing done to stop the derailments from happening. And when they do happen, they shouldn't even pay anymore. So if you're conservative, you're watching this, why doesn't that strike you as odd? That they tell you day after day after day after day, this is terrible, this is an attack on you, this is a war on you, and nothing should be done to stop it from happening again. That should be, like, all of the alarms should be blaring in your mind from that. And honestly, I think progressives have been trying to do a good job of raising what could be done. For instance, more people, better brakes, all those sorts of things. And unfortunately, we have Biden and we have Buttigieg, and we know where their loyalties lie, particularly Buttigieg. And so we're gonna come out of this with this opportunity wasted to actually safeguard the lives and livelihood of all of these people who could have a demonstration of the proper role of government, the proper role of regulation, but we're just waiting for the media and the government to move on.
Yeah, so look, conservatives, your whole life you've heard law and order, right? And you like law and order. Everybody likes law and order. Then you hear that regulations are bad. So that's but wait a minute, what's a regulation? It's just a law. That's literally what it is. It's the law and order that you like when it's applied to people, right? But regulations are applied generally to companies. That's why they split it into two and had everyone in the establishment, but especially the Republicans, tell you regulations bad. The government should control your lives, but never the corporations. Regulations bad. Oh, well, what are the regulations? Well, Guardian broke a story about how another railroad company said it basically didn't want to inspect the bearings. And guess what happened in this particular case? The bearings broke. Now, why didn't they want to inspect the bearings? Because this costs more money. So this has been happening in the industry for a long, long time. So the government says, hey, you have to inspect things to keep them safe. And corporations go, I don't want to because it costs me money. But then it'll break and people will be harmed. Yeah, I know, but it'll cost me money. The brakes, you have to replace the brakes and get new brakes. Well, I don't want to, it'll cost me money. You have to have more inspectors there, more people, staff to run the train so it doesn't cause accidents. I don't want to, it costs me money. So what do? They send their dogs, the politicians, and there's no difference between corporate Republicans and corporate Democrats like Buttigieg. They're both on the same exact team. They play good cop, bad cop. And Buttigieg's role is to go out there and go, oh golly gee, we tried everything, but there's nothing we could do. Oh my God, I really wanted to gosh darn regulations, but I couldn't get any. And that's literally what has happened in these two terms. And then the media are the biggest liars of all. And they come in and tell you, oh, Buttigieg tried so hard. And Obama, he had it, oh man, boy, he also tried. But all this trying and they just couldn't get anything. And then, oh, Trump though, Trump was bad. Trump made it worse. Well, actually, Trump did make it worse. But Biden and Obama were also awful. But nope. Good cop, bad cop, okay? And everybody, hey guys, look, get a load of this irony now. For hundreds of years in this country, black people said they were being abused by authorities, mainly cops, right? Other people too, but cops beating them through, the civil rights era and into the present. And the establishment, largely through the politicians and the media, told black people in this country, we don't believe you. We don't believe any of you. We think the cops are always telling the truth and you guys are always lying. All black people are lying that they're being abused by cops. Guess what, right wingers? Now they're doing it to you. So you're all saying, I got headaches, I got nausea, I got all these different problems. My kids have all these health problems. And the government comes in and goes, no, there's nothing wrong. Corporations, nothing wrong. And then the media, what does the media do? No, they're paying a lot of attention to this. That's a good thing, right? Credit where credit is due. But at the end of the day, they go, well, people say they've got these problems. On the other hand, the beloved corporations and the beloved EPA and the beloved government and the beloved Buttigieg says there is no problem. So I guess you guys are making it up and you're all delusional, okay? The establishment's always telling the population that they're delusional. It's a form of gaslighting to get you all to go, okay, corporate rule is awesome. Corporations need to save money, so our kids need to get hurt. They need to suffer the health consequences because these efforts don't want to do inspections, they want to save money. Right wing, wake up. You're half right. You're right to be enraged. You're right that they're lying to you. The answer is law and order for corporations as well as human beings. Make the government, your representatives, serve you and protect you. You like that when it's cops? You should like that when it's cops on Wall Street, cops against corporations. It's not to say that you destroy corporations, get rid of corporations. It just means their job, the job of your representatives is to protect you. That's their #1 job. And go ask your goddamn Republican politicians. They hate you guys and they laugh at you behind your back. They're like, oh, let's criticize Buttigieg and Biden for what? I don't know. We don't want them to regulate. We don't. We want the corporate profits to come in and for them to give us the goddamn bribes. So don't let them regulate. We'll criticize them for something that's useless. Oh, not showing up. That's perfect.
Or paternity leave, or whatever, some shallow thing to attack
Buttigieg is gay. Aha, we got him, right? And oh my God, they did this to this town because the town is white or Republican. They didn't do it to the town. They don't give a damn about any of us. The accident happened to happen in East Palestine, but it could have happened 5 minutes later in Pittsburgh, where it would have mainly affected Democrats. You think the corporations care? They only care about maximizing profit at your expense. Please rise up against your own politicians. We've done it on the left, okay? And what do we get for it? Nothing but establishment attacks. The mainstream media, how dare you criticize Buttigieg and Biden? Oh, you guys are biased. You're biased, so you like the American people. How dare you? We are right, you are wrong. God damn it, nothing's ever gonna get fixed in this country. And Emma, I love you, but nationalizing the railroads, are you kidding me? We're a billion miles from that.
I'm with labor on that though. I mean, but it's still Cenk, like that's what the labor unions are saying, right? So I think it's important to articulate that.
They should get real. They should get real. They should actually push for things that could actually happen. Nationalizing companies that are making billions of dollars. That's just fantasy talk.
And you can have long-term and short-term goals. I mean, both of those things can be true at the same time, simultaneously. We can move towards nationalizing our rail system, and we can also, in the short term, have a push towards a regulatory framework that makes sense. The problem is that Pete Buttigieg comes from a corporate McKinsey consulting background, and his ideology is a lot more aligned with the efficiency model that is what got us here in the first place, cutting costs, cutting labor to the point where it's dangerous for those workers to operate on those trains, and it's dangerous for people in those communities. And to your point about corporations, it's all being about their bottom line. They could relocate these people and give them stipends for a year plus for pennies on the dollar of what maybe they would eventually have to pay out in terms of lawsuits if cancer comes around the corner, which is like literally what the advice that they're giving to residents of East Palestine. But they don't want to do that because they'd rather take the chance that people here, they might not have the resources to adequately sue us, and we could counter sue, or we could fight them into oblivion. And we have immense resources, and they don't have that. So they could do a lot more than a crappy town hall. Yeah. They could give a lot more money so that people don't have to be living in a toxic stew. But they don't want to do that because it's bad PR, and they don't like to set the precedent. The other reality about, and I'll wrap up here, but about regulations, even little things like braking systems that are more updated, is that they don't want to set the precedent that the government's going to come in and tell them what to do, even if it doesn't even hurt their bottom line. They want, and their model is, we want to operate with impunity. And so anything that threatens that is an existential threat. And unfortunately, one of the top watchdogs that's supposed to cover this sector in our government, and Pete Buttigieg, he, I think, has a lot more of an ideological tilt towards corporate America than should be allowed in a Democratic administration. But alas, here we are.
Yep, here we are. Well, we're gonna take a break. When we come back though, CPAC's going on, so we're gonna risk our sanity by checking in on them. We'll be right back.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk, John, and Emma with you guys. John, take it away.
It's time to head to CPAC. Let's take a look at this.
We are going to create a firestorm. Look, if it's up to me, there's going to be a firestorm. These leftists, these Marxists that have prevailed upon the American people and used the awesome power of the federal government to cow us into fear in our homes, they've got to be put on notice. They've got to be quaking in fear. They've got to be worried. They've got to be losing weight because they're not eating, because they're worried that they're going to end up going to jail.
The focus on the weight loss from fear is. But anyway, that was Representative Scott Perry, who was delivering, I think, guaranteed applause lines at CPAC. It was a very low energy CPAC so far, but he got a little bit of clapping for saying that they're gonna hunt down and lock up people who made us, like, whether at home during the storm. Does he remember who was president in 2020? A lot of Republicans seem to be forgetting who was president in 2020. But in any event, he says that they're going to be looking into those who've weaponized the federal government. That's a big talking point of the right recently. They're gonna be investigating the weaponization of federal agencies. And the point that they're making there is that the federal government obviously should not be deployed as a weapon against your political opponents. And to make sure that everyone understands that, they're gonna hunt down and lock up their political opponents. It's beautiful, really. It's a nice circular little process. In any event, he also touched obviously on the vaccine mandates. He took a little bit of time to say that Democrats are gonna be banning your gas stove and stuff. Look, maybe there's a reason people like Mike Pence and Ron DeSantis and I don't know, a whole bunch of them didn't take the time out to go to CPAC this year. This is just like any random Charlie Kirk monologue or a little snippet from a Jesse Waters or whatever, except it's the elected officials getting to live out their true dream, which is to be right-wing pundits.
Yeah. Okay, so look, what am I supposed to do with right-wingers? I want us to get together so we can end corruption, and I know you guys hate corruption. But do you guys get the saying, I'm for freedom and let's lock up our political opponents, is contradictory? I'm asking you like basic questions. Do you get that those things are diametrically opposed to one another? I love freedom, let's lock up everybody who doesn't agree with us. How? How can you possibly say those two things and cheer those two things at the same time? But you know what? For the right-wing mind, this is the problem with us on the left. We can't understand the right-wing perspective. For the right-wing perspective, they think, yeah, that's not inconsistent at all. Freedom for me and not for you. That way I'm on top and you're at the bottom. Mission accomplished. Where's the question? Why is that even hypocritical? Of course I don't want you to have freedom. Of course I want my political opponents locked up. And of course I want me to have maximum freedom. I don't have to wear masks, I don't have to get vaccines, I don't have to do anything, but we lock all of you guys up. Hashtag freedom.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, and by the way, guys, right-wingers, you don't even realize the target of that trick isn't us, it's you guys. What do I mean by that? Because he says, oh, they're coming to your homes. who the hell's coming to your homes? Did anybody come to your home and try to take the gas stove out? So be honest. Did a single person that you know ever come to your home and try to take out a gas? Anybody you know, take out the gas stove? It's made up. It's totally made up, right? No, they're not coming for your homes. No, the federal government sometimes regulates big business. Scott Perry and all the Republicans and most of the Democrats are paid off by big business. So he comes out there and goes, oh, if you try to regulate those big business interests, I'm gonna have you all arrested. Did I do good? Did I good? Can I get the check? Can I get the check? Okay, that's what this is about. It's an attempt to deregulate big business so they can get away with anything they like, including giant balls of flame that go over Ohio. This is just an ass covering operation. And if they could, yeah, of course they'd lock up everyone who's against corporate rule. And you know who they'd lock up along with us on the left? You guys. Because then you wouldn't agree to big business rule. Look at how you're yelling at them at East Palestine. They don't like that kind of talk. Yeah. That's something that'll actually get you in real trouble under corporate rule, which is what Republican politicians love. That's why they lie to you guys.
Emma?
Yeah, the fixation on the gas stove thing is funny to me because it really is a classic conservative hallmark where they dress up, teeny tiny regulations that are meant to protect people and pretend that any kind of protection from corporate America is some infringement on your personal freedom, as opposed to the corporation that's making you sick, in theory, right? And they do that all the time. But to your point, Cenk, about the ability of the conservative mind to compartmentalize and to square circles. I mean, they're doing it by sitting at CPAC. Like Matt Schlapp, chairman of CPAC, just a few months ago, accused of sexual assault of a man who worked on Herschel Walker's campaign, I believe, as a driver. And it's a little bit more sparsely attended this year. They're not getting the big headliners. I don't think Trump's showing up, right? He might later, but at least not today.
I don't know if he's going in person, but he is speaking on Saturday.
Okay, well, maybe not Kevin McCarthy. I don't know the full lineup, but point being is that it used to be even more of like a rock star event for these nut jobs. It's much less so this year, but still, it doesn't really matter. Like Jim Jordan showed up as well, because conservatives really don't have a problem with compartmentalizing. This is my team. I might be a hypocrite. That's okay, but I'm on this team because I believe in a far-right hateful ideology, and that is the more important element here. It's the same reason that despite all of this damning evidence coming out in this Dominion lawsuit about how Tucker Carlson behind the scenes is saying that Sidney Powell is a crank and how the entire election conspiracy is complete nonsense, and in public saying the opposite, and then while believing that in private, also trying to get reporters at Fox fired for saying what he believes privately, publicly about the election. There's a reason that is not going to penetrate the conservative mind, is because hypocrisy is irrelevant to them. They are immune from hypocrisy arguments and hypocrisy shaming. They're operating like they would, like a fascist group would, which is that the ends justify the means, and it doesn't necessarily matter what we believe as long as we're behind, big Trump or big fascist or big Republican Party, because this is our team and we're gonna die with them.
Yeah, and I think it definitely justifies the means ideologically in the end, but also on a personal level, that all of the speakers, like they had Candace Owens, Trump, it's just a series of grifters. That's all it is, some in politics, some in media. And many of the attendees dream of someday being elevated by Tucker Carlson so they can start making money by lying to these people. I mean, they had Steve Bannon speak. He stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from conservatives. He said, I'm gonna build a wall, give me money. And then he took it and he bought a boat and he gave money to his friends. They just stole money from conservatives. And CPAC's like, oh, that's good. No, you're really good at this grift thing. Come and speak. And no one has a problem with this. None of the other speakers have anything to say. No conservatives seem to mind the fact that someone who robbed hundreds of thousands of dollars from conservatives is speaking. Imagine if I stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from conservatives. You think they'd let me speak at CPAC? But when it's a conservative, that's the whole point. He did it a little bit more brazenly. I think they're a little bit impressed by that. But that's fine. Nobody has a problem with the fact that they were so openly robbed. In any event, we have to get into some of the other culture war stuff that they launched into at CPAC, including this from Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville.
They want to divide family. They don't want any gender. They want one gender. They want to attack everything that we've done over the years and go by their ideology. Our country is in trouble, and it starts with education. Until we start recognizing what the left is doing, trying to change family, trying to change the things that are our moral values, we've got no chance.
All those Democrats, they just want one gender. I hope they have a reveal party. Which one is it? What the hell is he talking about? Their complaint on a daily basis, the one joke that conservatives know is that there's a whole bunch of them and you can just have whichever one you want or whatever, which is the one gender that we want. We're not the ones limiting gender expressions. You guys think there should be two, and that's basically it. By the way, I didn't know this about Tommy Tuberville, a guy who's very concerned about kids. So concerned that apparently back when he was a coach, he handed a 1-game suspension to a player that was charged with the rape of a 15-year-old. That's from the Washington Examiner, which I believe is a more conservative outlet. I'm not familiar with that story, but this is clearly a guy who's very concerned about the children.
Yeah. All right, so two things on this. One is the one gender thing's just funny, right? Like a joke about how the left believes in like a million different genders at least makes sense, right? It's not true, and we could debate that, but we definitely don't believe in just one gender, right? But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter to Tuberville. It doesn't matter to anybody in the audience. They're just like, yeah, the left sucks. Oh, the one in the million genders, right? So it doesn't matter. It's just like, okay, we don't like people that aren't like us, period. And so this one is as old as time. This one is not one of the modern problems that we have. For conservatives, they believe in keeping things the way that they are. And in the old days, were there gay people? Of course there were. They just stuffed them into a closet and said, if you come out, we're gonna beat the living crap out of you and maybe kill you, right? And so, but to the outside world, it looked like, well, there's no gay people, there's no trans people, there's no people that are non-binary or any of those things. I don't know what those things are. We stuffed them into a dark closet and then beat the living crap out of them. We don't know what they are. So they had a family and they thought it's 2 kids or 4 kids, whatever it is, and a mom and a dad. And we liked the way things were. And so this is why that appeals to right-wingers so much. This one is awful, but I get it. I get the conservative mind thinks, I don't want anything to change. And these guys now letting me know that we've always had gay people, we've always had trans people, it makes me really uncomfortable. So I don't want to hear it. Instead, I'll take a moron like Tuberville who thinks, 15-year-old getting raped's not that big a deal. It's not worth a 2-game suspension, okay? But, well, we can't handle one gender or the one gender problem. They like that guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, college football coaches are some of the worst people in America. We'll say that. They don't pay their players. They act, frankly, as, I don't know if I want to go so far. They have like an overseer mentality. And it's a lot of black players on their teams that they fight tooth and nail not to pay. And they want complete control over their lives and careers to a point that I think is a bit dictatorial and definitely racially charged. Those institutions in the South with those big college football schools, there's a reason that they're as invested as possible in ensuring that college football players who make the school millions and millions and millions of dollars, and those coaches like Tuberville get paid in the tens of millions of dollars. They don't want the fruits of their labor going to the actual players. Doesn't matter if they blow their knee out, can't play in the professional leagues. They should not get paid despite making this university millions of dollars. Yeah. Regardless, I do think that's honestly relevant to the senator that he is. But the fixation on trans people, they are using this as a wedge to open a door into what Cenk is talking about there with larger discrimination against gay people, LGBTQ people more broadly. They just feel like the gender thing weirds enough people out and it's new enough for some people in society that they can use it as a tool to attack queer, gay, lesbian people more broadly. But the cruelty of their continuous fixation on it is really the point. Like Matt Walsh, I'll never forget when he went back on Joe Rogan's show, and Rogan had been in a bit of hot water for repeating the litter box conspiracy theory about schools. And so he actually had a fact check for the first time in years on his program. Matt Walsh said that there were over 1 million kids undergoing transition care in the country. And Joe Rogan's fact checker guy said, okay, actually I looked it up and it was 5,000 over a few year period. And the reality is that that's actually much closer to the truth. But the right wing wants to amplify it and make it think it's like this indoctrination thing so that it becomes a dirty word to be trans, and that little trans kids are forced back into the closet because their fluidity with their gender and their desire to live their life as they see fit is such a threat to the conservative mind because they are so deeply closeted themselves. They have such little understanding of their own gender, of their own sexuality. And when they look a little bit deep, they get freaked out because they don't have the capacity to be introspective or challenge themselves on that front. So they force all of their pain outward and want trans kids to either go back in the closet or cease to exist, because that's the reality. If you don't allow trans people, non-binary people, gay people, lesbian people, queer people to live their truth, then that's the sentence that you are handing down to them. Yeah. And for the cruel right-wing mind, that's the point of all of this.
Yeah. By the way, one last thing: if you're a right-winger, you're catching feelings right now to us calling you cruel. I'll even say immoral, etc. You've never heard that before in American media, and you're outraged. That's the first, like, that's how dare we say that? Do you get that you were cheering for Tuberville a minute ago when he said that the left has destroyed moral values? That we're so immoral, we've destroyed morality. Like, you're used to that your whole life, and you think that's perfectly normal. We should demonize the left, our fellow citizens, and we should say they're immoral and terrible human beings. But when we say, hey, we think it's actually immoral to hate other people just because of their gender, you go, oh my God, how dare you call us immoral? The sense of entitlement that the right wing has in this country is unreal. They get to do everything they want to us, but if we ever fight back, they called us immoral. Yeah, when you don't believe in equality and justice for all, you're both immoral and kind of un-American. Get used to it.
We're gonna take a little break. We come back, some fun.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk, John, and Emma with you guys. And look at all these wonderful people. The Fish Dancer became a member and then gifted 5 other memberships. That's Damn. Amazing. So thank you for doing that. Forward. Miss Anonymous 617 gifted a Young Turks membership. And Swadane Dragon gifted 5. So all these wonderful, generous people today. Thank you guys for allowing us to do honest reporting. We couldn't do it without you. John.
Okay, let's have a little bit of fun. Thanks to the Dominion lawsuit against Fox News, we know that just a couple of years ago, Fox News, including its biggest stars, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, were so terrified of Donald Trump and his followers that they knowingly spread lies around the election because they didn't want to lose their audience. Well, fast forward to today, and Fox appears to have come up with what they think is a strategy to stop that from happening in the future. They're just gonna try to make it so that Fox fans never hear what Donald Trump has to say at all. They've instituted a soft ban on Donald Trump. Don't call it a shadow ban, right? Wingers would get triggered. But anyway, according to a source close to Trump, everyone knows that there's this soft ban or silent ban. It certainly however you want to say, quiet ban, soft ban, whatever it is, just call it something, man, and move on. Anyway, it's indicative of how the Murdochs feel about Trump in this particular moment. An aide who spoke to the publication, Semaphore, said they heard from Fox News directly that the former president was in fact soft banned. So Trump seems to know it, Fox News knows it, and that's what they're doing. According to Trump aide, the understanding is that they're not to have Trump on for an interview because the Murdochs have made it pretty clear they want to move on from Trump. Fox is showing that by not having him on. So this might make you wonder, wait, yeah, it has been a while since Trump has actually been directly on Fox News. Quite a while. You have to go all the way back to September. In the wake of the raid on Mar-a-Lago, they had him on to talk about that. Here, this might jog your memory about what it was like when Trump was allowed on Fox News.
You had said on Truth Social a number of times you did declassify.
I did declassify, yes.
Okay, is there a process? What was your process to declassify?
It doesn't have to be a process, as I understand it. You know, there's different people say different things, but as I understand, there doesn't have to be. If you're the president of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it.
I just declassified a document at my desk at home, but just by thinking about it. He does have a point though. Different people do say different things. So people who know what the hell they're talking about say one thing, Donald Trump says another. So he's not wrong there. But anyway, it's so funny that that was his last appearance too, because that is Sean Hannity being told absolute BS from Donald Trump. He appears to know that it's BS, but he can only push back so hard because, again, like in the lawsuit, he is terrified of turning off Fox viewers. The truth, an accurate reflection of reality, all of that stuff purely optional. And if that would get in the way of getting red hat wearers to love him, to want to pay him money, continue to watch him, they're going to immediately dispense with that. The issue is that this strategy might, over time, take away a little bit of Donald Trump's influence if people aren't regularly hearing from him. But the thing is, he is running for president now, and he knows what's happening, which means that Fox, which is trying to avoid Donald Trump trying to turn the MAGA world against them, has every reason now to do this. Fox has decided that they apparently prefer having Ron DeSantis, and we'll get to their showing off other candidates. So one has to assume that this is going to result in a major collision.
Okay, so two really interesting parts of this story at a minimum. First of all, this is a war between Donald Trump and Fox News. But the second entry, and by the way, here's another piece of evidence to that. We've already shared so many of the internal emails and correspondence of Fox News about Donald Trump, and it turns out the owner doesn't like him, the hosts don't actually believe him, and the executives don't like him. Nobody likes him. They're disgusted by him, but they're also scared of him because of how much control he has over their own audience. Right? We're going to get back to that because that's very important. But Murdoch also said that he gave a directive to quote make Trump a non-person. Okay, now that leads to the second point, which is this is what corporate media is actually great at, and the genius of this trick is that it's invisible. So this is what mainstream media does with progressives. It's a soft ban. They just never have us on. So that's the best way to go to war is by never presenting the other side. So now right-wing media is doing it to Trump. It's a soft ban, right? The establishment doesn't like this. By the way, right-wing media and mainstream media are part of the same organization, corporate media, okay? They are each individual institutions, they're different corporations, but they're all multi-billion-dollar corporations and they all have the same agenda, which is lower taxes, deregulation, let us gobble up our competition, and no competition, and we get to charge more money, okay? So that's why all of the disagreements you'll see on cable news are over culture war issues and social issues. On economic issues, they agree 100%. And now Trump's bothering them, so they want to turn them into what progressives are in the establishment, non-people.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how. By the way, you know who's soft banned? I'm soft banned from MSNBC and CNN. Fox News, I don't know about. I haven't been on there in over a decade, I assume. I'm maybe soft or hard banned there, but I don't know about that. But I know producers have told us that I'm banned from CNN and MSNBC. Why? Because you don't even have to ban me. You don't have to ban any progressive. You just never have them on, right? So, but now finally the most interesting part for what's going to happen next in this country. Who's going to win? Well, before Trump, I would have said there's no force in America that could beat Fox News. And I've been saying that for a long time, and the corporate media was like, "Oh no, Fox News is fair and balanced." You guys are so outrageous, you progressives, saying that they're, that they don't really do news. You remember when Obama said one thing against Fox News? It was CBS and CNN and MSNBC. Those guys all jumped in. How dare you? This is an attack on the press. They're real news. I plan to work there later for millions of dollars. How dare you? Okay, so and Roger Ailes and Rupert Murdoch ran that organization brilliantly and have affected outcomes. They pick who's going to be the Republican nominee almost every time. But now Trump has escape velocity, and they can't rein him back in. And so every time they go to ask real Republican voters, they say Trump, 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 Trump. And they say it on Fox News too.
Yeah.
So this dam's gonna break. They can't contain Trump. So eventually there's gonna be a couple of people in right-wing media who go, well, the money is in supporting Donald Trump because that's what the audience wants.
Yep.
And eventually that's going to become such a powerful current, it's gonna break Fox News's will to resist. And so I have Trump as the favorite over Murdoch.
Oh my gosh, of course. Trump should be the favorite over everybody in this Republican primary. I mean, he is the Frankenstein monster that decades of right-wing talk radio and right-wing media has created. The Republican voter has a taste of the fan service that he provides for them. And that's what Fox News have been doing for decades. He's as much of a creature and a creation of right-wing cable news and talk radio as any human being on earth, if not the #1 creation of that. And also like evangelical prosperity gospel, because he's a rich guy and he has like a rich person's branding. I mean, he has a gold toilet, haven't you heard? So he can do no wrong in their eyes. Rich person equals smart, successful. You cannot question them. And that's from decades of evangelical indoctrination, but primarily from right-wing media like Fox News. And so the Frankenstein monster is out in the town, wreaking havoc. And good luck, Fox, with the soft ban, because it's not gonna last once Trump continues to hold on to a lead in the polls in the Republican primary. Yeah. This DeSantis dude does not have it. Despite right-wing media's efforts to make him seem like the reasonable moderate in comparison as he tries to ban books and have blogs register in Florida. And just because he went to Yale, that doesn't pass the sniff test with everybody else. That's just for you guys in Washington. It makes you feel a little bit better about backing a fascist because he has a fancy law degree that you might think is a worthy credential. Trump is the same guy, but he actually has charisma. He has the capacity to appeal to the voters that they need to win over in a primary. The problem for right-wing media and the base that they have cultivated is that whoever's going to come out of this primary is going to have a damn tough job winning in a general election, because they've gone down the fan service rabbit hole, and that's how intense it is that they think DeSantis can be branded as a moderate. I've got news for you. No moderate independent voter cares about like online anti-trans dialogue. That's just for you guys. And so I think Trump's by far the favorite in the election.
Yeah, I think he's got those things that you said, but I think he also has, yeah, exactly. He's got the cruelty. He is the master of cruelty. And it's easy to do it to regular people, to the LGBTQ community. Every Republican can do that. Ron DeSantis can do that, but Trump will do it better because he cares even less about other people. But he can do it to other Republicans in better than any Republican. And the sad thing is that these weak Fox executives and hosts who all don't want Trump to be the nominee might be able to stop him if they had a testicle between them. If they actually came out and attacked him, if they just night after night were to attack him, then maybe they'd have a chance. Maybe other Republicans in elected office, in independent media, again, many of whom hate Trump, might be able to take him down. But instead, it's all this weaselly stuff by implication. You've got Tucker Carlson saying that elderly men aren't strong enough to be president. Do you get my drift? I'm not gonna say it because I'm terrified. And instead, They're not gonna stop him. He's gonna bulldoze Ron DeSantis, maybe drive him out of American politics. And then 6 months from now, Tucker Carlson's gonna do a monologue about how Trump is the best thing ever, but he'll be stewing inside secretly because they're all so weak. They're too weak and cowardly to actually stop him from getting the nomination. That's probably all the time we have, unfortunately.
He's got to get out of that social deal, by the way, so he can get back on Twitter. That would be the end for the rest of the Republicans in the primary.
It would be the end for Ron DeSantis. Yeah.
All right, we're unfortunately out of time. Everybody check out Emma on Majority Report. Everybody check out John on Damage Report. A lot of reporting going on.
So many reports.
John, Damage Report, of course, starts our programming at 1 o'clock Eastern, and then you've got a 7-hour block that goes through the Young Turks. Everybody check that out. Thank you guys, really appreciate it. And we'll come back with a second hour where, by the way, we're gonna talk about Tucker Carlson talking about weak men. He tells on himself in a hilarious way. You'll love it. We'll be back. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.